Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025, and the government has a spending problem. Apparently, they have up to 9 layers of management, according to Franco Tetrazzino, and he's saying, yeah, we could definitely cut spending. There's definitely places where we could cut spending, and it's really obvious. It's not even that hard. We can just look at this managerial class they've grown up here. The purpose of AI is to control search and construct the false reality and all the evidence that the false reality needs. Oh yeah, I've got 10 or 12 references here. Don't even worry about it. Please don't look into them, because Grok makes them up, ChatGPT makes them up, and a whole bunch of other concerning things. And I think that search is moving into ChatGPT led or AI led thing. Dead internet theory is becoming more and more likely. It'll just give you whatever it thinks you want and hopes that you go away and stop bothering it. That's basically it. I was also using an AI and I didn't even realize I was using an AI. It said I was interacting with this chatbot and I didn't know it was a chatbot. And it said, oh, you've asked a question that is beyond my capabilities. I'll get a human to help. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. And so I've been trying to change my telephone service person. And the situation I found myself in was not being able to talk to a human at Fido, at Virgin, at Rogers. Holy smoke. It's great. It's absolutely bonkers. And what they do is they up your bill and then you can't call in and then you have to switch away from them. I did eventually get to talk to a human at Virgin. And I said, listen, my bill is about $5 higher than my wife's bill. And I want the same deal that my wife's got because she's on Virgin. And I figured that if you could give it to her, you give it to me. And they were like, oh yeah, we can't do that. This system doesn't let us do that. And so after having that conversation, I switched to Fido, and that was a whole debacle. And after that, I couldn't get a human. So Lucky Mobile is the one that I'm with now, which is a bargain basement brand one, but it's on the Bell network. So it's the cheapest one on the best network. What are you going to do? Anyway, it's ridiculous. I was talking about AI and constructing reality, but the AI is also meant to manage customer interactions and stymie your ability to interact with anybody. The other thing that happened, because I couldn't talk to somebody on the phone at Fido, I went into their kiosk thing and they have a little sign that says, we have a zero tolerance policy for hate. We won't tolerate hate. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to be hateful. I want things to work. And I tried to tell this guy that I didn't like being hung up on by the AI thing. And he made fun of me to my face. And then when I said, are you joking me right now? Held up the we have zero tolerance for hate. I would not give Fido my money at all, period. What a garbage. This was in the Stone Road Mall kiosk. What an unbelievably terrible experience. I signed up with them 4 months ago. Nobody mentioned that my phone was going to be decommissioned. They said that my phone was not compatible in a very shady sales tactic. They said my phone was not compatible with their network, which is nonsense. My phone is new and like a year old, and it is compatible. I asked ChatGPT, et cetera, et cetera. When it came down to it, they said it's not certified on our network, meaning they wanted me to buy a new phone, and I told them to shove it. And if I wasn't technologically minded and didn't know better, I might believe these people, but they're lying. My phone's fine. There's nothing wrong with my phone. They said it didn't activate VoLTE, which is voice over LTE. I'm currently on VoLTE right now on Lucky Mobile. So either Fido's lying or their network is crap. Either way, I don't want to be a part of it. It's ridiculous. Anyway, not to diatribe on Fido, but just in case you're looking for a mobile phone company, don't use them. $150,000 in meth in a federal prison in Saskatchewan? Sure, I guess you need that to get through being in a federal prison in Saskatchewan. But that's what's going on. And it seems like that's high. It seems like that's a really high amount of meth and like a dollar value for being in a federal prison. That's a big business, right? If your business is turning $150,000 in product, like that's a lot of money, right? Like you've got delivery, you've got some infrastructure supporting that. You've got people on the inside, like nobody's looking around at this. Wild, absolutely wild. Temporary foreign workers are 18% of the private workforce, apparently. That's seems high. That's really high. Electoral reform regarding the longest ballot. So what's happened is people hate the longest ballot. We'll talk about it when we get there, but they don't like the longest ballot and they want it changed. But changing the rules in the ways that are being proposed hurts smaller parties. There are ways to do it, I think, that won't hurt the smaller parties. It'll put the onus on the people who are trying to enter the race, et cetera, but protect their ability to try in a smaller party without having massive financial penalties, right? So we'll see how that goes. The car producers, in order to meet the rules around the carbon tax and the battery-powered electric vehicles, are saying to the government, listen, the only way to meet your standards here is to cut the production by about 1 million cars, gas-powered cars, to make the ratio 20%. That's the only way to do it. And so, cool, super good. If our auto industry loses 1 million cars, that's bad, right? And if our economy loses that economic activity, the sale of the car, the building of the car, all of that stuff, that's bad, right? And so Mark Carney is not economically minded. He is continuing bad policies that will destroy the economy of this country, period. Tamara Lich responds to Pierre Poilievre, and the title of today's show is Donald Trump. We got to start with Donald Trump, man, because Donald Trump is saying, it's time. It is time to go after people. Obama stole the 2020 election. It was Obama. His name's on the paper. We're going after him. It's time. And so there's yeah, do I say that? There's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. Donald Trump is talking about arresting Barack Obama very, very clearly. And I know this isn't really Canadian news, but I think this is world news that is important to pay attention to because it's going to be very interesting. Here we go.
Witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up to 2020 in the election. They tried to rig the election and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. You know, when we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be talking.
Yeah, pretty wild, right? So Trump is not mincing any words and saying it's not a group of people. It's Obama. It's Obama. And he's saying Tulsi Gabbard, she's so hot right now, right? Here's the Magate meme. And who's hotter than Tulsi Gabbard? Absolutely no one, says Donald Trump, because she's going after the people and focusing on the situations that Trump wants her to focus on. Here we go.
Director of National Intelligence. Oh, where's Tulsi? She's like hotter than everybody. She's the hottest one in the room right now because she found out with certainty. I think we knew it before, in all fairness, Tulsi, but now you have certainty. She has all the documents. She has everything that you need. And she found out that Barack Hussein Obama led a group of people and they cheated in the elections, and they cheated without question. It's not even would you say there's even a little question there, Tulsi? She says no. And you found things that nobody thought we'd ever find. And very happy and very honored to have you with us. She's right now, by far, Speaker, she's hotter than you right now, Speaker. She's the hottest person in the room right now, Speaker. So, Tulsi, great job. And I know you have a lot more coming. She told me you've seen nothing yet. So I heard those rumors about you, but now I know they're true. So we're very proud of you, Tulsi. They cheated so badly, and ultimately it led to a loss in 2020, and it shouldn't have been a loss. It was a big victory. We won by a lot. We had to do it again. But if I thought we lost, I would never have run again. And this is a far more consequential election than it would have been if we did. That's the only thing I can say in favor of it. But
so there you go. Donald Trump is very open, talking in multiple venues about what they've got on Barack Obama. Airtight, watertight. It's very, very clear. And he's not just stopping at Barack Obama. There are other people that committed other crimes. Nick says, President Trump says the Department of Justice has Adam Schiff 100% on mortgage fraud. Here's Trump talking to Press Scrum.
You're a developer, very successful developer.
Adam Schiff really did a bad thing. They have him. Now, let's see what happens. It's not up to me. It's not up to, I stay out of it purposely. But it's mortgage loan fraud. It's a big deal. He defrauded banks and insurance companies and the federal government. But it's very simple. It's mortgage loan fraud. And you're right. It's a lot of people to live in a one-bedroom apartment, right? But he put it down. But he has a lot of other things far worse than that. So, no, Adam Schiff, they have him 100% on mortgage fraud. Now, if there's anybody else in this room except you would have no problem. But anybody else in this room, you'd have a problem. I'd have a problem. Yeah, please.
If it was me, he says, this guy wouldn't have a problem. I don't know who he's speaking with. Oh, this is the president of the Philippines, and there's an announcement about trade deal with the Philippines before Canada. Darn, shucks. Nuts. We got to talk about Tamara Lich and Chris Barber. Today is the day for their verdict, and I don't have any news on that. I've got some movement from yesterday. Some people have discussed it, talked about it. Tamara Lich has responded to Pierre Poilievre, acknowledging that there is a two-tiered system in play in our justice system at this point in time. So that's interesting to me. But I'll have the verdict for tomorrow. I have no idea what to predict. It seems like the judge doesn't want to come down on them. It seems like the judge was dragging her feet at times. And I think that I thought strongly that if Justin Trudeau was in office when the verdict was handed down, it would be much firmer, stiffer sentence than if he was not. Now, Justin Trudeau himself is not in office, but he may as well be in Carney, right? It's the same thing and the government is in the same structure. But I don't know if this judge will feel enabled to give a smaller sentence than what the 7 and 8 years that the Crown is demanding, despite the fact, I don't have legal history or anything like that of how many people in mischief cases get multiple years in jail. I don't think it's many, especially considering the number of people who get out for violent crimes. Mischief doesn't seem to rise to the occasion. And so the whole thing seems very political, very charged. And I wonder if the judge is going to be forced to play along with it. If she doesn't give a big sentence, maybe they'll do a mistrial and do another trial, because they've done that before too, right? Justice Center is looking at somebody who's had that done to them. And so even if this seems like it's going to be over tomorrow, if the judge comes in with a light sentence, let's say, and art of the deal, ask for way more than you want, settle at what you expected to get in the first place. 2 years sounds light compared to 7, but it's long for mischief. And bingo, bango, bongo, you're done, right? So 2 years wouldn't be a win. 2 years would be a loss. They shouldn't serve a day in jail, and Big Red, Chris Barber's truck, shouldn't be demolished. Are we going to see justice administered tomorrow or today? Doubtful, right? Doubtful. I hope we do, but I have zero faith in our justice system at this point in time, and I don't know how anybody could at this point in time either, because of all the egregious things we've seen, right? Christy says, Tamara and Chris are being used so that no one will want to stand up to the government again. This isn't about a protest, it's about control. Yep, I think that's true. Daisy says Palestinian youth movement pots and pans protest shuts down Elgin Street northbound, taking up an entire city block in front of the Ottawa courthouse. Just prior to this march, leaving, the organizer bragged about their ability to shut down streets. Video coming. And here's the video of them bragging about shutting down streets, right? And for almost 2 years, we've blocked the roads. So they're bragging about this.
For 2 years, almost 2 years, we have gathered to protest against this great Israeli occupation and genocide in Lebanon. We have marched, we have yelled, we have screamed, we have blocked roads, all to force an end to massacre. But
we have blocked roads, she said.
Shamefully continues to be complicit.
Weird, right? Very, very interesting. They can openly block roads if they're protesting the correct thing. But if you're a trucker and you block the roads, whew, my goodness, right? I think if pro-Canadian protesters, people who were upset about a Tamara Lich, Chris Barber verdict, showed up doing exactly the same things as these people, there would be a much bigger police presence and people would be arrested and so on and so forth. Honestly, I hope I'm wrong about that, but I think that they would respond very differently, because history teaches us how they would respond. And The last time we saw people who were protesting, waving Canadian flags, the police were called on them, right? And that's scary. Here's Lion Advocacy. He says, given what we now know, various federal, provincial, and municipal COVID restrictions were unlawful. The Crown's pursuit of 7 years incarceration for Litch and Barber, 8 years for Barber, far exceeds the realm of the absurd. I hope the sentencing judge is fully apprised of the wrongs our government has committed. It's not that one-dimensional, right? Like, if she comes in with an easy sentence, if the judge comes in with an easy sentence, the impact on her career could be catastrophic, right? And so, like, do you weigh that? Do you say, I am going to stand in front of this train and make sure that these people who don't deserve jail don't get jail? Or is she going to say, I want to be considered for a Superior Court justice position in the future, and so 7 years isn't that bad to make sure that I am still in the running for that, right? Like, there may be competing things that go on in her decision making that are selfish. There may be, and I don't know. Who knows, right? I don't know. You're supposed to be impartial as a judge, but can you be impartial as a judge, right? Does our system allow for impartiality at all? I don't think so. At this point in time, it looks like if you even question the narrative, you're a fringe minority ne'er-do-well, right? And so can a judge issue a verdict that will go against, fly in the face of all of the political winds that are blowing? I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. Apprised is one thing. Will it apply? Will it even, does that add pressure? More pressure than the rest of the stuff that I was just talking about? I don't know. Tamara Lich is responding to Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre, who says, let's get this straight. While rampant violent offenders are released hours after their most recent charges and anti-Semitic rioters vandalized businesses, terrorized daycares, and blocked traffic without consequences, the Crown wants 7 years prison time for the charge of mischief for Lich and 8 years for Barber. How is this justice? He doesn't say 8 years for Barber, but I'm just fixing it because... why be imprecise? Anyway, Lich says, it is with the deepest gratitude that I thank you for acknowledging and bringing awareness to the two-tier legal system we are witnessing unfold in Canada. There is a fine line between politics and the judiciary, as there should be, and I have long understood the uncomfortable position elected officials find themselves in when it comes to commenting on cases that are before the court. In our case, the double standard and the vindictive nature of the prosecution office has become too obvious to ignore and will set a precedent going forward that will affect all Canadians who choose to peacefully protest or deter them from exercising their charter right to peaceful assembly. Thank you, Mr. Poilievre. And okay, I guess. Is that good enough? I don't know. Okay. It's very, very nice of Tamara to be so willing to take that and say, that's good enough. Because I don't think it is good enough, right? And there were other CPC people who have weighed in on this as well, but it's not on the nose enough. It waters it down with too much other stuff. We need to talk about the two-tiered legal system, and we need to talk about it in a really forceful way. And that's missing the mark for me. Michelle Ferreri, who's a former MP, is responding to Vesper, and Vesper says those claiming Conservatives never contacted Tamara Lich to meet with Trudeau's government. Conservative MP Motts, Omar Algebra, and Marco Mendicino were instructed not to negotiate with her while Trudeau escalated tensions. Conservatives sought a meaningful resolution. And here's Michelle Ferreri, who's a CPC MP at the time. She says there was never dialogue because the Liberals never wanted resolution. They wanted justification to invoke the Emergencies Act. I walked the convoy every day. The people I spoke with daily desperately wanted to be heard. They wanted to go home. Liberals have proven time and again they prefer division over discussion. Canada needs serious leadership that unites us as a nation. When O'Toole was ousted as the leader and Candice Bergen took over as the interim leader, there were Conservatives who were talking with the convoy, meeting with the convoy, but they don't represent the government in an official capacity. They're just there as the official opposition. They're not treating or negotiating or anything like that, right? And so but during that time, there was upheaval in the party, and the party, did the party come out officially standing with the convoy? I don't even remember at this point in time. But a peaceful resolution, there is a lot that could have been done, and the Emergencies Act shouldn't have been invoked. It was illegal. But the longer the convoy stayed, the more it looked like a color revolution, where in Egypt they just stood in the square until what was his name? M. It started with M. I can't remember his name, but the president of Egypt was ousted, right? And then, I mean, that led to military rule, and I think Muslim Brotherhood rule for a little while, or people who were on board with the Muslim Brotherhood rather than who the other guy was. But I can't remember exactly the details. But the longer the convoy stood there peacefully protesting, the less control and power Trudeau had. It was slipping daily, and all they had to do was stay. And so he had to do something, and what he did was illegal. And now they're saying Tamara Lich is terrible for peacefully protesting, and she deserves that much time. I don't know. It's not right. It's not right. Matt is responding to this. Tamara Lich trial. Second Ottawa cop testifies work phone was wiped of Freedom Convoy records. People are showing all of the tweets and the images of the buffets and what they were saying about the protesters, because this was extra duty. These officers could volunteer for this extra duty. It was easy pay. It was double time, triple time. So you're getting double time and a half and all sorts of money, and they're getting free beer, and they're talking about protesters in aggressive ways, talking about beating them up and things like that. All of this has been scrubbed because the phones were wiped on purpose to undermine the case of Tamara Lich and Chris Barber and anybody else who dared to stand up to the government. And how is that overlooked, right? Matt says, remember when all those police phones got mistakenly wiped prior to the Lich and Barber trial? I do. The Canadian justice system and multiple levels of Canadian authorities are also on trial in the public eye this week. Never forget. Well, people have forgotten a lot. Holly Doan says charter challenge of vaccine mandates imposed by then Chief of Defense Staff General Wayne Eyre is dismissed by the federal courts. This may seem to be a harsh outcome to the plaintiff, but it is the result that is compelled by the law. Bullshit. Excuse me. Bullshit. That's bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit, right? And so do you think the courts will save us? I have bad news, right? Like it's not happening. Absolutely not. Not going to happen at all. Here's Bukele, and he is the philosopher king. Is El Salvador? I think he's El Salvador because Milei is Argentina, right? Yeah. So El Salvador, and he says, Bukele, he's the president of El Salvador, and he says they want people to think that going after criminals is wrong because they want those criminals to run rampant on Swedish streets and destroy your beautiful country from within. Just like they're doing across much of the world, it's all by design. And Evelina says, Swedish media reports that Bukele has imprisoned 85,000 criminals. You'd think they'd applaud him for saving... You think they'd applaud him for saving his country, but instead they smear him, claiming a few are innocent. Crazy, right? Like absolutely bonkers. So that's what's going on in Canada too. That's what's going on in England. That's what's going on in a lot of the blue states. Trump's trying to bring in law and order, but he doesn't control every level of AG. Like each state has its own attorney general. And so certain things are state jurisdictions, certain things are federal, so on and so forth. So Trump can't come in and be a law and order president and have that kind of impact unless they have a sympathetic state who likes those policies and wants to lean in instead of being against it, right? And stopping them from enabling those policies. So everywhere. It's everywhere. Table Salt says a Toronto man calls 911 and it takes police an hour and a half to respond to him being violently assaulted, decides to drive himself to the hospital with broken bones. In that time, the suspect bites off parts of a second victim's earlobe. That's why you tell them, please come, there's a dead assailant here. And they'll show up much faster. My aunt used to say that when I was a kid. She said, oh, just tell them that the person's already dead. They'll be there much faster than if you tell them that you're being attacked. Don't tell them you're being attacked. Tell them that you killed the assailant. They'll get there very fast. And I always thought that was like shady, but now I think I might try it. Like Alice says, Britain is run by people who want to save it by first of all destroying it and then building a new utopia from the ashes. This is called a revolution. They are called Marxists. I call them communists, but yeah, it's happening across the Western world. I wish it weren't so, but it sure is so. Here is the food professor. This is our grab bag of governance for today, and he's talking about he's talking about this situation here where restaurants are losing their minds because they are not allowed to use temporary foreign workers, and temporary foreign workers allow the restaurants to only pay 40 or 50% of the salary. The rest is paid by the government. So the government brings these people in, agrees with a restaurant to pay half the salary. And then once they do that for a couple of years until the migrant or whoever has sufficient skill to move on to another job. And then they bring in another person. And so Tim Hortons pays a much lower rate for their labor than, say, somebody who would hire all naturally born Canadian people, because naturally born Canadian people have a higher payroll hit because Tim Hortons will have to pay 100% of their pay rather than the 40 or 50% that they would have to pay if they're brought in by a government program. See, that's why they're doing it. And now that the government's saying, oh, well, it's not appropriate because we saw those ants at the Tim Hortons in Saskatoon. So we're not doing the temporary foreign workers anymore in the foods, right? And so now the restaurants are saying, hold on a second, we want cheap labor. We want cheap subsidized labor. And the government could subsidize Canadian labor in a crossover to help the businesses, but they want to cause problems as much as possible. So they do stuff like this to wedge people. It's a wedge, and they're using the policies to drive the wedge. And they're saying, but people want it, when it's done in a stupid way. No, people don't want it, right? It's like, stop the car. So the person slams on the brakes and everybody flies around and like, well, you wanted me to stop the car. It's like, no, you idiot. Like, stop the car like a normal person, right? That's what they're doing here, and they're doing it on purpose. On purpose. Food professor says, this is a quote from the article, temporary foreign worker program still has a role to play in select industries with clear recruitment challenges. Bullshit. But its use in food services, particularly in areas with ample domestic labor, should be phased out. Should be. Oh, it should be at some point in the future. Oh, right, it should be. Link to the full article below. So AgriFoods Lab is talking about this, and it's about cheap labor. That's what it's about. Okay? It's about pricing Canadians out of the workforce. Larry Brock is talking about the meth in a Saskatchewan prison. He says $150,000 worth of meth inside a federal prison isn't just a security failure. It's what happens when liberals lose control of the justice system. Drugs behind bars and government that shrugs while the crime crisis across Canada continues. What are the liberals doing to stop this from happening again? I'm waiting for the YouTube video on So You Want to Be a Crime Lord with people who will definitely not visit your house, right? Like, oh yeah, I'll serve 1 or 2 prisons. Each prison's worth $150,000 in revenue, and bingo, bango, bongo. What are the chances? You get 1 raid a year, and then the prisoners get in trouble. I don't even get in trouble. And I mean, this business model is wonderful, right? Like, I'm being facetious. I'm joking, but at this point in time, I'm surprised there aren't how-tos. Maybe the how-tos are all in a foreign language, and it's the people over there watching it, and they're coming here and running it. The Vancouver method, eh? Jamie says it's not an MP's duty to write letters of support for terrorists, actually. So the public safety minister wrote a letter of support for terrorists, and he's still in the position, which is not great. And he's saying, I wrote it as an MP, and it was my duty as an MP to write it on behalf of this person. And so Global News says public safety minister says he was only doing his duty as an MP when he wrote letters supporting an alleged terrorist group member's immigration application. Cool. So next question. The drones are ours. Andy Lee says, Toronto has completely lost the plot. Yes, you can actually call a hotline to get free drug paraphernalia delivered directly to your door now by an unmarked vehicle. Wow. Kevin Vung, who's now doing a radio show on AM 640, which is pretty crazy. He says, I'm listening to Amy of New Toronto on AM 640 with Ben Mulrooney. And the Uber Crack Pipes delivery service, Crack Pipes in 20 to 40 minutes, that has our hard-earned tax dollars is funding in Toronto. You need to tune in. This is unbelievable. So yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. But all of those Mockingbird Media people on radio, it just doesn't entice me to listen. I don't know. I don't know why. CTV News is reporting, but it's an interesting story, and I can fully believe it. In Guelph, taxpayers pay for putting people up in the Super 8 hotel. And we pay for twice daily cabs to pick people up and take them to the safe injection sites and have their drugs and then take them back to the what's it called? The hotel. And I said, why don't they just pay for one cab ride and bring the drugs to the hotel? Why not? You could fit a bunch of drugs in one car, right? Like, why don't they just deliver it? Because it seems really bad. Because it's like, each individual person might, quote, want to get high at different times. So you could have 10, 12, 15 more cab rides a day, right? All paid for by you and me. Drugs paid for too, you and me. right? Why? I have no clue. I have absolutely no idea, and nobody cares to justify any of this insanity. Here's some good news reported by CTV, although CTV is reporting it and they want you to be outraged by this. But good news, everyone. U.S. Olympics and Paralympics officials banned transgender people from competing in Olympic women's sports. So yay, good job. Men who are men can't compete against women in the Olympics. Perfect. Great. Good job. Sanity has kind of reasserted itself, sort of, right? But anyway, the whole thing is insane. It's absolutely insane. The media has been weaponized against a Christian concert in Alberta, I think. So residents push Parks Canada to cancel MAGA supporting Christian artist concert. How dare that Christian Donald Trump loving guy come here to sing some songs? Holy smoke, I'm so mad about it. Okay, weirdo. Like, I'm more angry at, I don't know, the criminals in our government who locked down Canada for a couple of years and then who made elections about anything but those things. And then the elections were kind of rigged. And here we are paying taxes through the nose. I'm more mad at them than the Christian rock guy. But you do you, I guess, Western Standard. Weird. Or I guess Western Standard's not mad. It's the citizens. The residents are pushing Parks Canada to cancel the venue. Crazy town. Lori Goldstein says the only way the auto sector can meet the Fed's 20% EV mandate. Oh, this kind of should be a net zero, but we'll talk about that later, I guess. 20% EV mandate for 2026, now at 77.9%, would be to cut production of 1 million internal combustion gas-powered vehicles. That would be madness. Ottawa is in talks with automakers over EV sales mandates, Jolie says. So super interesting there, right? Like that's pretty wild. It's not gonna happen. It's just a matter now of finding out how Canada unwinds all of this, because there's a lot of momentum behind it, money, and the plan was we're going to sell into Europe. But now the plan is, oh shit, the automakers are on board and they can just go back to the United States. So what now? How about a depression, everybody? I hope not. Charlie Kirk says, this is in trades. How long? Okay, I should kill the stream. Thanks for watching, everybody, on the stream, and we will catch you tomorrow. I'll stop that. Sorry, I still have to talk myself through it, but we're getting there. It's much more smooth than Noel. I'm saying the date again. Everything's good. Okay, so this is trade. Oh, maybe we should have kept on the stream. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Charlie Kirk is talking about Trump and trade, and this is embarrassing for Canada because the Philippines having a trade deal before Canada, that's pretty brutal, right? We should be